All right. Can you see me?
Yeah, I see
All right.
you.
It's gonna be all right, dude.
No, I'm just like drained. I don't know why I feel so drained right now.
There we go.
It's the
Double
weather,
feed
dude. It's
again.
like 70 degrees, but it feels good though.
I'm the same way. I was out in the
You
sun.
say,
TT had her.
oh, I was gonna ask, how did that go?
It was good. They got smoked again.
Oh,
20
damn.
to 40. Yeah, but
Oh,
we
wow.
did the little senior walkout.
So,
We walked on the field with them.
uh-huh.
So that was
Oh, that was the
cool.
last game?
No, they going to the playoffs, so
Oh, so they ain't that bad.
no. They won like 10 straight.
Hmm.
So I mean, we're on YouTube, so I don't know why. Can they see us?
Oh, I don't know. I told them that they was trying to go live, so I just told them, no, hold on a second.
There we are. I see you. You're going to have to turn it horizontal. I don't know if you can turn yours horizontal because right now it's just doing the vertical. Yep, they there.
What do you mean?
So your camera, turn it horizontal, turn it long ways, like where it's parallel to the floor.
Oh, wait a minute, long ways or
Side,
because I
this
had
way,
it
like this.
horizontal.
Yeah.
Shit. Oh, hold on. I gotta rotate the screen. Shit.
Hey Trish, what's going on? I'm glad you can see us. Can you see us both at the same time or just
Oh,
me? Hey Michelle. No, so I don't know if you have it on your phone where it has the little phone icon and you have to turn it. So whenever you turn your camera or phone, it
who are
goes
you talking to?
horizontal. You.
I I got it. It's horizontal now.
Okay, because when you talk, I'm still not seeing you now. I don't know what you just did. There you go. It's still vertical. Yep, yep, you had it for a minute. Trish said no, it flips back and forth. I think we lost them.
I'm right here.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah, it's because my phone, dude. I'm trying to position it to where you can see me, so I had to prop it up. So can you see me? Because it's
Yeah,
kind of like you looking down up towards me, but it's just gonna have to work for now.
yeah. I'm trying to get the gallery view. Just bear with me for a moment, ladies. I know this is very unprofessional, but I switched from
Oh my goodness.
doing YouTube live. I'm going through Zoom just so if y'all want to try to call in, I want to see if it's better to call through on Zoom than it is through YouTube. So that's why we having a little technical difficulties today. So just bear with us.
I can't
All
make
right.
no subtle movements.
So Mark is good to go. I'm still working on the gallery split screen so you can see us both at the same time. But until I get that done, I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing started. So welcome to the Day and Night Podcast. I'm your host Matthew. As always, like, subscribe, comment, share if you can. Again, you can check us out on Spotify if you want to listen to us. And kick it to our co-host in San Antonio.
Hey guys, how's it going? Like Matt just said, sorry for the difficulties, but we're working it out. But yeah, like always, I look forward to our topics. Every one of them resonates with me, and it always make me open my mind and think more and look deep into it for what we discuss. So I just love what we're doing. I appreciate the same viewers, Trish, Michelle, Spring Crunch, all you guys, much gratitude and like keep doing what y'all been doing. Just keep interacting, being engaged because that's good feedback and we love it. And that's all I'm gonna say. But this will be a good one. This one's gonna be interesting. We see how it go. But all of them are. But yeah, so yeah, that's all I got for right now though. I'm gonna let you start it, Matt, and then pick
All
up.
right, so now this one, hopefully it doesn't offend anybody. It's a truth that I believe, or reality, I should say, that we all have to face. And it's a question that's always brought up. Like I said, it may offend some people, it may not. So I'm going to do my best not to offend anybody. This one is a little bit different. As always, things are subjective and objective. For me, this one leans a little bit more on an objective side than a subjective, even though it is a lot of subjectivity to it, because it's really going to depend on that person's perception as far as what the topic is talking about. So, no further ado, as you can see, today's topic is white privilege. Is it a reality or is it a misconception? So, I just want to first start off, like I said, today's conversation is not to attack anybody, okay? And we all have our personal views and perceptions as far as how we see life, especially when it comes to this topic. So, with this one, again, there's some subjectivity to it and there's some objectivity. So we have the individual experience and then we had a systematic experience. Now, I want to first say, for me, we have to agree, not have to, I think we should be able to agree that there is some systematic truth to it when it comes to white privilege. So, of course, it's going to be different out of the eyes of, black person, Hispanic, Asian, whatever the case is. And of course, it's going to be different coming from the eyes of, a white person. Now, not all white people, as Mark know, use that term or feel as though that's something that they carry, and that they use that to their advantage, if that makes sense. But again, there's truth that there is systematic truth to it as far as there is systems in place to whereas white people are paid more than any other race. There's certain jobs. There's certain things as far as like buying homes. There's instances when it's getting a job. To whereas if you're a white person, the system is more or less geared towards you than it is anybody else. And I know some people that I've talked to, some people or some things that I've watched, and one of the arguments was from the white people were, I don't feel as though that I have white privilege. And I know there's some out there that don't use that to their advantage in the sense of they don't say, well, I'm white, so I know I get to have priority over everybody else. I know there's some of them out there that don't do that. But that still doesn't negate the fact that systematically white is considered better. Okay. And again, this is proven. This is not just me talking. Anybody can go research it and find out that Again, whites are paid more. There's better job offers. There's better schooling. So, from the eyes of a black person, I'm not speaking for every black person, but for myself, from the outside looking in, it's already given that certain things are in place for you to succeed. Whereas for any other culture, any other race, they have to jump through hoops. And a lot of the systems and stuff that's in place had to be put in place because of disparity between whites owning businesses, getting the better jobs, getting better pay. So there were systems in place to have I mean, in order to negate that, to try to bring some balance to it and some equality. So that, in a sense, in itself, is basically saying white is better, and that's the privilege, is because you are able to go through life, go through certain instances where you don't have to prove yourself as much. You don't have to jump through certain hoops to get what it is that you want. So again, I know some are going to disagree with that. I had one white person say, "Well, I never had to, or I always had to fight what I had to get, and I didn't just have it given to me." So in that sense, it makes sense. But I don't think that person was actually looking at it from the standpoint of anybody else, any other race is held to a different standard. And because they held to a different standard, they have to do a little bit more and prove themselves a little bit more. Whereas if you're white, you don't have to prove it as much, if that makes sense. And that's where the white privilege comes in. Because you're white, you
Mhm.
automatically have a step up than anybody else. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to kick it to Mark and get your perspective on it.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna pretty much echo the same thing you just said. It's definitely systematic, and I'm gonna just continue off of what you just said at the last part because I have few white friends, and they said the same exact thing you just said. Where I don't get no white privilege because I had to struggle, I had to grow up, and my dad was a hard worker, and we had to fight and work for everything just like anybody else. But then I gave them the same point you just made, and that's where the disconnect's going to become is they won't be able to see the privilege that they are given just because of their ethnicity. So they're going in thinking that it's hard, but they're not realizing they're already getting a pass because the system is set up like that. And the white friends I have, they never going to see that point of view, even after like, you explain it to them and break it down. So they always going to try to push back and say that's not true. So they're never going to really see it through our lens, but that's definitely the key to it is the systematic part where, like you just said, it was perfectly said, how the system is set up for them to have a little bit more benefits just walking in. And they don't, some of them don't realize it because it's already natural to them. It's almost immune to the, but they don't even recognize it because they already used to it from families to generation. Now, I'm gonna use an example that I personally experienced. This was back in 2012. I was working for a grocery line here in San Antonio, which is pretty much the main one. And it was a guy, a brother, young black man that was up for promotion. Now, keep in mind, he's working for this company for like 15 years. And everybody in the store knew that this guy was going to be the next general manager for that store. So everybody was already congratulating him, and they already knew that he was going to proceed to go up. But then it was a young white lady, came from college, Texas A&M. She had her degree, and they automatically gave her the position over him, and he was so upset. He was just so distraught. He didn't care for it because he knew right away what it was about. They claim it wasn't that. They just claimed that they going younger, and she has the education. She has a degree, so they wanted to implement her into that role. And like he stated to them, "Well, I've been here 15 years. I know the ins and outs. I have the experience. She still have to learn the process of becoming a general manager." But they negated that. They gave it to her right off the bat just for that reason. And he went ahead and said, "I'm going to file a lawsuit for discrimination because it was clear that the only reason she got that position because of who she was." Now, they try to claim it because of the education background. And I kind of get that, but at the same time, when you had 15 years in and you know the place like the back of your hand, where everybody knew he was going to get the position. But when she came in, they totally gave it to her. So he wound up quitting, and he was so upset because he knew right away what it was all about. But they tried to downplay it and say that wasn't it. So that was just a firsthand experience that I witnessed on that one instant in the workplace. And I'm gonna share another one where it was a personal where I was dating a white lady, and she kind of carried the privilege on her sleeve. Like she used it to her advantage. But I'm gonna let you go back, but I'm gonna use that next scenario on the next one.
All right, I want to touch on some of the comments. So Trish says, I feel like when white people say they don't have privilege, they are closed-minded. And she said, I feel like white people think hard work is what the privilege we speak of is mistaken for the free pass we have, as if the privilege means we don't still have to work for things. Yeah, I totally agree. And I get from the standpoint of someone that wasn't raised in an environment where racism was something that they was taught. And they truly are good people and they feel as though that everybody's equal. And I get if you in an environment where you don't experience it, I can see how that person can be like, well, I don't see the privilege that they're referring to, because when
Right.
I go, just like the story Mark gave, when I go and apply for a job, I had to work hard for it. Or when I went to school, I didn't get no special privilege. I wasn't given grades. I actually had to work for it. So I can see from that mindset and that experience to whereas it doesn't make sense to them and they don't see what it is that we're referring to. And sometimes, like you said, it is being closed minded because they're not looking at it from a systematic standpoint. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I'm looking at it from. I'm looking at it from purely system and stuff that's in place as far as to whereas it's a little bit more challenging for us. And I'm going to use sports, for example. You look at the NFL, there's no black owners. And the majority of the players are African American and some Hispanic. But the majority of it is black, but there's no owners. Why is that? And you can't say it's because they don't have the money or whatever the case is. There's been numerous prior athletes that tried to purchase an NFL team or any major sports team. So they're automatically given the opportunity to own a team. Some might say it's not because they're white, but come on, let's be real. Like I said, there's black billionaires out there that can afford to purchase a team, but they were denied. So from us sitting back looking at it, it's like, well, why can't they buy a team? Um, there's no what is it, qualifications to being an owner. If you have the money to purchase the team, you can purchase the team. You know what I mean? There's no
Mm-hmm.
job description to be an owner. So that is one example. Now, I experienced this firsthand when it comes to policing. I do get that there are some, white people that have been beaten up, that's been killed, but not at the rate that we have. And there was a video I was watching not too long ago. Now, this person ran over a cop, cussed the cop out. Not one time was a weapon drawn. So that in itself, they're giving a pass, like, okay, you can do all the crazy stuff. You can spit, you can scream, you can cuss, you can even put our life at danger, but we're still not going to pull our weapon. We're still definitely not going to shoot you or kill you. So
Mm-hmm.
again, on the outside looking in, you have to look at it from that person's perspective as far as, okay, we see brown, black, and whatever get treated a certain type of way, but you can have a white person say and do the same thing and nothing happened to them. You can go back to the shooting at the church where the kid shot out the church
Mm-hmm.
and they took the guy to get something to eat before they took him to jail. So For me, I can't speak for anybody else, but that's what I'm looking at when I see white privilege. So white people have the privilege of doing things that nobody else can do and basically getting away with it scot free. So I don't know, Mark, if you noticed that and what your opinion on
Oh
that is.
yes. Yeah, I noticed that off the bat. Yeah, and you kind of used the one that I was going to use the example with the police officer because that was going to be my first one. Is how it's a white guy over here somewhere over here where I live at the other day where he was being irate. Something happened in the store, but he was causing a scene, commotion, yelling at the cashier attendant, threatening them. I'm gonna blow up this place and everything. The cops came and pretty much same situation. They ain't take him to eat and all that, but they just brought him to the side, talked to him, and tried to de-escalate the situation. But the fact is, he was violent. He was violent too. He was threatening, which is a terrorist threat by law. If you say I'm gonna blow something up, and all he did is talk to him and made him walk off and leave the premises. And then, of course, everybody that was, gathered around was screaming, "Oh, see, that's because he's white. Because if it was a brother that did that, they would have
Yeah.
held, hauled his ass in." And, you had different cultures there. So some white people like, y'all always want to throw the race card, and that's not the case. So it was a debate back and forth. But we all clearly knew the situation. So I always recognize that as one, is how a police officer, and I'm not saying all of them get a pass when they do
Mhm.
something wrong, but that incident happened, and that just justifies it in my means that that's kind of how they do. Like you said, systematically, the system is going to protect the white culture a little bit more than they would any other. So that could be definitely subjective. So people are going to always argue back and forth about that. But the other incident is when I was dating someone a few years back. I think it was, yeah, we went to the Super Bowl this year. And you know how those lines were when we got to wait to get
Yeah.
inside. So everybody's complaining, man, this is taking too long. And why did they open up this other line? They making it longer. So long story short, the lady I was with got all upset. You know what? I'm gonna go see what's going on. I'm gonna take care of this. And I was just like, look, come back. You ain't gonna be able to get in there just because you
Right.
feel like you're gonna tell them something different. No, I know better than this. And I'm gonna get the manager, and the manager gonna come out here and they're gonna talk to me and they're gonna open up this other line. And of course, somebody behind me, oh, she thinking she white, and she just go up there and just open up the other line. So she went up there, and whatever they told her no. And the guy looked and he saw me that I was standing with her. So I think he flipped it and told her no because she was with me. Now,
Hmm.
the point I'm trying to make is the attitude she had was, oh, I'm different. I'm gonna go up there and talk to these people, and they gonna open the line. Where clearly everybody else tried the same exact thing, and they got the same result. But she took the initiative to think that it's gonna be different for her. But
Hmm.
because dude saw her with me, he didn't allow it. So she was all upset, and I'm gonna call corporate. And I mean, she blew it out of proportion. But my whole point about that little story is some do carry that as, oh, I could get away and do this because she didn't say because I'm white, but she had the attitude because who I am. This is going to change the outcome. So that's why I say it's going to be a little bit of both. I agree with you. I have some white friends or colleagues that don't carry it, but they still get the privilege because of that
Hmm.
situation. So yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like it's going to be both. Yeah.
Perfectly said. All right. So, so y'all basically got our perspective on it and experiences. So I'm going to flip this to y'all that's watching. So, have you personally experienced privilege or disadvantage? So I really need y'all to be transparent with this one because again, we can only speak on our perspective, but I would love to get your perspective so I can see maybe I'm looking into it too deeply or maybe I'm using it too much as a crutch or whatever the case is. But I would love to hear what your personal experiences has been. Have you received privilege or do you feel as though it's a or disadvantage? So I'm just going to wait for the response. Now,
Well, I'm
Oh,
a.
go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to do the double edged sword. So this going might offend some of people in our culture or community when I say this. Now, I have to be clear. I got to be balanced on this and be transparent, honest. Now, it is some cases where I would say systematically we all agree that it definitely is in place, but it is some instances where we would take it and we use that to our advantage to use that card to say, hey, is this dude that got that special privilege because he's white, or it's because I'm black. That's why they ain't doing it. Because if it was a white person, they would let me, you know. So I feel like sometimes we use that to a certain extent to get what we want. Um, is it justifiable? Maybe in a sense it is. Yeah, we do have the right to kind of to broadcast that and say that was the reason. But I do feel like sometimes we do kind of blow out of proportion where it's something we did and it was our own admission that we was the reason why it happened. But we always want to say, well, if it was anybody else, if it was a white person, then that wouldn't happen because there's one more incident at work. It's a young kid. He's about 20, 21 years old. He's a good guy. I don't have nothing against him. But when we get done with our work, we have to do what they call 5S. It's just basically cleaning up. So he takes off and he leaves every day. He never does anything. He just leaves. And this one Hispanic lady goes, see how white guys just get the advantage? Just because he white, he just feel like he don't have to do what we do. We gotta work hard, and he just go home and don't want to do anything, and then nobody never hold him accountable. So then it was another white guy and said, no, that's not true. Y'all always want to play that like we always get special treatment. So they was like arguing back and forth. And I stepped there, I looked, I said, well, he do just leave. And nobody never say anything. So to me, it looked like he do kind of carry himself like, well, I'm white. They ain't gonna make me do this because he walks away, but the management don't discipline him. There's no consequences. So that's where it looks like the system is. For me, I say the system is giving him the pass because he know they're not gonna do nothing. So why wouldn't he take off and leave? Because he know they kind of got his back. So I feel like sometimes some white people will uh, do what they want because they know the system is set up for them to give them a privilege, and they just use it to their advantage. Because I think that's why he does that because he know that the management is not going to say nothing. So yeah, systematically, for myself, I'm a more or less lean towards that. And I just feel like some take advantage of it, some don't, but the majority they do take advantage of it when they know they can. It may not be nice for some of y'all to hear that, but it's the case. What I've seen personally.
All right, I'm gonna read some of the comments. She says, Trish, disadvantage, I don't know. Privilege, probably every day. And Michelle says, I haven't experienced this. Spring Crunch, yes, I have had people believe I am the helper and not the supervisor because of who I am and because I'm not white. And Spring Crunch says, I have had people walk in front of me when I'm in a line or waiting and they'll help for me. So I appreciate the comments. People in general will do whatever they can to get away with it. I agree 100% on that one.
Mm,
Now, for me, this is a challenge. And I've said this, and Umar Johnson, I know you know who he is, Mark, but I don't know if anyone else in the
yeah.
uh, that's watching know who Umar is. And he said the same thing I said. Now, this may come off as offensive or kind of abrasive, but just hear me out. I've stated, and I still stand by this. He said that all white people are racist. Now, I know automatically that can trigger a response or trigger an emotion because some people believe that they're not racist. I think when people hear that, more so white people, they think of the most extreme racist person, someone that's like literally out hanging somebody or killing somebody or intentionally doing harm and saying meaningful things. I think that's the normal picture that people associate what racism is. So racism is not just those things. That's like the most extreme thing. And the reason why I say this is because if that wasn't the case, the only way racism would stop is that white people have to make it stop. Stop. That's the only way it's going to stop. Us as black people, we can't stop racism because we're not the ones just projecting it and putting that stuff out. And the reason why I say this is because somewhere, somehow, at some point in the life of a white person, they either have been associated with a extreme racist, they worked in a business with extreme racists, they've been in passing with extreme racists. Now, my thing is, you may not agree with it. You may feel as though you're not doing the same things, but if you don't say anything or push against it, then you're just as bad as that other person. Because again, racism is only going to stop if white people stop it. Because one, they have the power, they have the resources, and they have the positions to stop it. So all these elites and politicians that have the power and the means to keep pushing the systematic part of racism and continue to push the systematic white privilege advantage, if it's not the white people that know them personally and not turn a blind eye and say, well, it's not me, I don't agree with it, but I know I'm not doing that. You're just as part of the problem if you're not standing up and pushing against it. And that's how I see it. That's why I say that all white people are racist, because at some point, enough has to be enough. There was a podcast I was looking at. It was an all-women panel. And I respected those women because they was being truthful and honest. They was like, yes, I'm a racist. And the one white lady was saying it bothers her because most people, white people, don't realize they're racist. Just because you're not doing extreme things, they think that they're not a racist. Anytime stuff is being allowed and you know the stuff is being allowed, then you're just as bad. It's no way, no how Trump should be the president of the United States. He just shouldn't. But the majority of this country are white, and the majority of the people voted for Trump. Now, I know people going to say there was blacks, Hispanics. We're a small portion as far as that makes up the total population of this country. So for that man to be in office, to me, that says a lot. Now, if some people say there's that the vote was rigged or whatever the case is, it still doesn't matter. People still voted for him, whether if it was rigged or not. So that's eye-popping to me. That says a lot. And the fact that he's not being impeached with the stuff that he's continuing to do that's illegal and immoral, whether if the Epstein's files are true or not, just the simple fact that the word came up that he was molesting children, this dude should have been out of office. So is it because he's white and that's the white privilege? Or it's because the majority of people, white people, are racist and they secretly or subconsciously want him to be in office because the agenda that he's pushing is putting more black people and Hispanics at a disadvantage and basically back to where we were before. And if you look at it seriously, closely, it's eerily similar to what Hitler was doing. They're putting stuff in place to where they're basically putting black people back to where they were before. They're taking stuff out of law. Like right now, people are so focused on the Iran war and stuff that don't matter, but they don't realize the stuff that they're putting in place to basically wipe us off the map. So again, if that's still being allowed, and there's white people that know this, then how could you not say you're not racist, because you should be pushing against it? And I'm not talking about marching and protesting. I just think a protest is ridiculous to me. All these corporations that's in bed with Trump and all these other politicians and stuff, that's where the mark is going to be made. Stop purchasing and supporting these companies and corporations that we know have an agenda. So if you deep down believe that you're not a racist, go against the power, go against the elites. Then we'll truly see who's
Hmm.
truly racist if you really walk in that white privilege or not. All right, that's all I had, Barnes.
Oh yeah, this one I'm not gonna say it's hard because like I said, this one's gonna be kind of easy because I'm not gonna go against anything. I mean, I agree with everything because I feel like that's pretty much what it is. Now, one thing I was thinking as you was talking though, now this going to sound like I'm kind of giving them pass, exonerating them, or as you say, I'm making excuses. But to me, it's like you said, it's very subjective, obviously. But the narrative is pushed out there for people,
Mm,
white folks, to still be racist in a sense. Like the thing that just happened with the white millionaire guy that killed the sister. He murdered her. I don't know if you heard about that.
yeah.
Somewhere overseas, they went on vacation or something. So all the podcast, all week, everybody's talking about how that's why you can't deal, you trust white people and they gonna murder you. I mean, it was just pretty much white against black. And I just feel like the narrative is going to always be pushed systematically to keep us divided. And even if you are a white person that may grow up around black folks and you may not even agree with that, but it's always going to come down to where it's going to be, we won't have to make a choice on who you with. And I feel like white folks do become racist when this narrative is put out there because if you look at stuff, there's always a negative narrative. There's always going to be white versus black. So that's why I feel like they always going to be in that light deemed as racist because the narrative is being pushed. And that's systematically because they don't want nobody united. Because I know you were saying the only way to end it is by white people doing it. I personally don't see that happening because they don't want the unity. They want to keep us divided. So they're going to always keep pushing that narrative of white is superior or white going to get privileges because they don't want that. Like you said, that's why Trump is in placed in there because he's pushing that. So I don't see where anywhere in the far future that it would change because as long as they push the narrative out there of having black versus white, it's always going to have that issue. And the guy that I work with, the young kid that's white, he don't seem like he's very religious. He seems like he could be, the coolest guy. I think he got a crush on one of the black girls that work there. And the other guy says, "Look, damn, dude, why don't you stick your own? Why are you trying to holler at our sister?" And he got offended by it because he's like, I'm not even like that. I just like women, and he's just going on about how he don't see color. So the other guy was like, yeah, whatever. And it was just back and forth. So I'm not gonna give you the long version. All I'm trying to say is even some white people that grow up young like him may not I actually be racist, but the narrative is always going to be put out there that he has to be because it's going to come from either the white culture or even the black culture that's going to say this is why you shouldn't be. And I always going to feel like it's always going to come up because then he had to defend himself and it became where it was white versus black. So I just feel like the narrative is always going to be that way. I don't see it changing because the system is set up for them to always have that outlook on black folks. So I just don't see it. It may sound negative, but just watching and seeing how stuff is going on in the world, that narrative is always going to be pushed. So I just don't see how it's going to come get any better. I know what you were saying about hit the businesses and hit them that way. That's going to be a challenge too because that's our problem. We support these businesses and buy most of their product and merchandise instead of supporting our own. But that's another subject. I think we had a podcast about that about supporting our own black community. So it's just a lot of dynamics to me in this. That's why I said this is kind of a challenge to hit it or target in a way because I have different views on it. But the narrative to me is always going to be pushed like that, and it's coming from the system, the movies, everything. You see it everywhere still, or the subliminal messages. They're always going to put that narrative out there.
No, that's definitely true. I do agree with that as far as they're pushing the narrative to keep us separated. I agree with that. But what I'm saying is just look at it from this perspective. Okay, so the topic is white privilege. Let's just take the white privilege out of it. Let's use your place of work as an example. You have a supervisor, or you have the leader, so to speak, that's within the group. You have that one person that everybody look to, and they try to push up there to be that spokesperson for the group of people that they work with. So that person has a privilege because they're in good with the supervisor and the CEO, whatever the case is. So this person sees and knows the backhanded stuff that the company is doing. He either has the choice to say something or turn a blind eye and say, well, there's nothing I can do. I don't have the power to do it. They're going to do what they want to do. But he still has the position to do something because he has a privilege the other ones don't. So if he actually took that privilege and did something with it, again, we'll never know until you actually try. And that's what I always hear people, they kind of take the cowardly uh, method and, well, it's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is. That's just life. Opposed to trying it out, just do something. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least you made an attempt. So that's what my point is. Because white people have that privilege because of who they are. They are the ones that have to step up because it's automatically going to be expected for us to fight back. You know what I mean? So it's going to be up there. They go complaining again. But when a person has that privilege, they are the ones that have to step up and say and do something. That's why I say true racism will not stop until white people push back against it because they have that privilege. Whereas they can go step and say something, not have to worry about getting shot. And this is real life. This wasn't a movie. There was a white woman, and there was protesters out there. And she said, we are standing in front of the black people because the police is going to kill them. So we're going to unite. That's what I'm talking about. That was a perfect example of a white person using their white privilege to an advantage in protecting the so-called weak or unprivileged. That's what I'm talking about. If every white person had that mindset, it would change because they're not going to kill their own. It's just not. There might be a couple here and there they might take out. But when you got a long-standing form of white people to stand in, they're not going to wipe them all out. So that's what I'm speaking on when I say that's how it's going to end. And I'm a strong believer and supporter in you have to do it. I don't care what it may look like, what pushback you get, but you have to try. It does nothing to just accept it. But I'd rather die trying than to die not knowing what the possibility could be. And that's what I tell my children. It's kind of going off a little bit, but that's what I tell my children. Always do what you want to do. Never hold yourself back. I don't care what it is. And every last one of them is doing outstanding things. You know, they're stepping out their comfort zone. So I just feel as though if everybody had that mentality, things would change. I believe that change can happen. I know it can happen. People just have to stand up and getting into, as far as you were saying that that's a challenge to fight against the corporations and stuff. If people if knew who they are and knew the power that they have, they won't rely on that. That's the whole point. They want you to rely on them so you won't fight against it. Because if you feel as though you have to use them and have to have them, you're not going to fight against it. Because the first thing in the back of your mind is, well, shit, I can't do anything because I need them. I got to eat. I got to work. I got to have this. Opposed to, you know what? I don't need it. I'm going to do it myself. And that's when the community comes together and they help each other out. That goes back to what I was talking about when I was in the military, when we built the shower. We came, got collective minds together and say, you know what, this is what we're going to do. They don't want to give us real showers. We're going to build our own shower. And that's what we did. we went within, opposed to just saying, what we're going to do, just going to keep getting on the back of the 5 ton and washing our ass with 5 gallon cans. So that's how I see it. All right, I'm going to get to some of these comments. Trish says it's a matter of how loud they are. Right now, people are real comfortable being racist very loudly. Yes. I guess I'd rather see
Hmm.
people be racist in my face than being a racist behind my back. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm like that too. I want to know who I'm dealing with,
Yeah.
opposed to who I'm not dealing with.
Right.
Okay.
So
So
let
let
me
me ask
ask you
this.
this, Matt.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's going to come across as being pessimistic, but I'm just kind of like it's a question because you right about it can change. Anything can change. It's all about choosing to change, right? So where we at now, here and now, how do you get people out of the 3D? Because that's the reason why a lot of people like that because they're in the 3D, like you
Yeah.
always say, they're in a low vibration. So
Hmm.
if to me, there has to be a choice, but I feel like they have to be presented to understand what is going on to get out of that. That's why I say I don't see it happening no time soon because right now we are so stuck in the 3D and with so much going on. You're right. If you get out of your comfort zone, but that's what I'm saying. These narratives are being pushed on everybody, exception for people like yourself and I that have the clear understanding of what's going on. So you're not able to be swayed to look in a certain way. So the narrative that's being pushed right now is with the president trying to push that. So how we get out of the 3D to become a united nation and become more unity with white folks towards black and not using everything as a privilege. Because I agree with you, but my question is, where do we start from there? Because we see that, but how do these other people that don't see it? How are we going to get them to see it? That's my question. That's the only reason why I say I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying I don't know if it's going to happen, anytime soon. And if it does, hey, that's great. That's perfect. But I'm just sitting here looking, and I'm not trying to get caught up in what's going on, but I could just tell just people that's around me and how they interact. It's a boiling point right now. So that's why I'm like, maybe get worse before it gets better in a sense. Maybe that's going to be the only way. The
Yeah,
old
that
saying, there's nowhere else to go but up. So maybe it takes the worst to wake people up and get them out of that.
yeah, that's a loaded question. I'm gonna do my best to answer it. So the first thing I would say, you said, how do you get people out of 3D?
Yeah.
That's going to be a challenge because that's a belief. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're centered around religion and your belief
Mm-hmm.
is religion, then you're not going to get out of 3D because
Mm-hmm.
metaphysics and religion, although they're parallel and it's the same thing, but because people is
Mm-hmm.
programmed, if you don't change that programming, then you're not going to come out of 3D. So I hate to
Right.
say it, but that's just the reality of it. If you have a belief in Christianity or any other type of religion, it's going to be hard to come out of 3D because 3D is centered around those things. Now, supposedly
Mm.
with Christians, you shouldn't be 3D because even in the Bible, it speaks about being of the spirit. So
Right.
that's in a sense, in metaphysics, is 4D, 5D, but uh, Christianity and stuff is just being in the spirit and being of God, being
Right.
Christ like. That's
Right.
stepping away from those 3D things. But like you
Mm-hmm.
said a minute ago, because it's being pushed in front of you, how can you come out of 3D if you're dependent on 3D? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
People like literally have
Right.
to make a choice. I no
Right.
longer want the 3D lifestyle. So until you make
Mm-hmm.
your mind up, it's not then that just not going to come out of it. Now the other part I wanted to respond or answer to, I always say there's a warning before destruction. I look at this whole Trump
Mm-hmm.
thing as in a spiritual sense. And I think I said this before. Him being in office is a mirror of us as a country. He
Mm.
is in place, in my opinion, is because he's showing United States citizens, I am you and you are me. That he is the majority of the United States. This is why I say this is
Mm-hmm.
key. If we don't take heed to it, pay attention, and change our ways, we will fall and destruction will come. United States is current Babylon. They try to push the narrative that it's East, it's over in the Middle East. No, it's the United States, is Babylon. Period. Point blank.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to fall. Whether you believe in God, whatever, right now is the warning. If you don't change who you are collectively as a people and live together as one in harmony, you will be destroyed. Period. So until people realize that, then it's going to happen. So right now, in my opinion, we are in the warning phase. We're being shown who we are. The majority of the United
Mm-hmm.
States is Trump. And Trish said there's a lot of people that's boldly coming out being racist and stuff. Because again, there was hidden racists before, but now because he's in
Mm-hmm.
office, people are emboldened to be freely racist.
Right. Yeah.
He's just uncovering what was being hidden for a long period of time. He is showing us in metaphysics, quantum physics, it's a mirror effect. He
Mm-hmm.
is the mirror. So until we see that, it's not going to change. Like I said, we will have to fall. And like you said, I don't want to sound pessimistic or anything like that. As Trish said, nothing will change. I believe it can change. I believe it will change because
Yeah.
it has to. Whether if it's for the good or for the bad is the question. But
Mm-hmm.
when out of destruction is always a rebirth. So
Right.
out of that rebirth, again, whoever's left behind will have to make that determination. Are we going to continue this cycle and we're going to rise up and be a better people and be a people of one and live in harmony? Or are we going to go right back down the same path and live in hate and live in jealousy? So here it is. It's simple. To me, it's really simple. It's an easy fix. But as long
Mm-hmm.
as people still got money as their focus, they still got positions as their focus, they still got titles and labels as their focus, that's all 3D stuff. As long as that's in the forefront of what you want in your life and that's what your goals are, you're never coming
Mm-hmm.
out of 3D. All those things are 3D. And I said it before, my goals are spiritual gifts, getting to
Mm-hmm.
my higher self. I don't care
Right.
about titles and having degrees and having a certain job position or having a certain car or how big my house is, how many women I have. That stuff is all 3D. It means nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
So until people get to the point where that has nothing to do with their goal. Now I'm not saying you can't experience it. I think that's where people get
Right.
confused. It's nothing with experience because that's what we're here for, to live the human experience. But when that becomes your main focus in life, that's when it becomes a problem because now you lost the focus of, okay, I'm here to remember who I was, just experience this, but not to embody this and be that. We're just here to experience 3D and then extend to the 4 and 5D and then off into our higher self.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you focus on those things, it's not going to happen.
Facts. Yeah.
She said, read the comment above. We won't be united for a very long time. Things won't change until people are open to being educated. Once people start learning about slavery and not sugarcoating or whitewashing history. That's the other thing too. They're doing away with Black history. They closed Black museums. They actually are making it illegal in some states. Teachers are being fired if they teach anything about slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to leave it there. Again, I don't sound like a broken record, but white people, y'all are the ones that's going to prevent and stop all this, not us. That's why I don't know if you hear like some black people like they just sit back and cut and chilling. We ain't out there protesting, doing all that stuff. We done
Yeah,
all that already. It's not our fight anymore.
right.
This was brought on by not anybody here, but the elites that so happen to be white. They are the ones that brought all this stuff on. So in order for this to end, white people is going to have to stand up and end it. Period. It's not our fight anymore. It just isn't.
Mhm.
So I want to ask this question: do you think the term helps or hurts the conversation as far as white privilege? Do you think it should be termed something different? Does it help a conversation, or do you think it hinders a conversation, like preventing progress? Because that word white privilege, it triggers people sometimes in a negative way. So I'm curious, what do you think, Mark? I'm gonna wait for their response.
Well, I think it helps. I mean, if it triggers you because that's who you are, and sometimes you need to face yourself and own it and be accountable for it. So, I mean, in the conversation, yeah, you may not like it, but if it's the truth, you need to hear that. I don't feel like any other word would be any better just to kind of ease your ego on how you feel. So I feel like it's definitely necessary. It may be uncomfortable, but sometimes that's how you got to be. You got to be uncomfortable to be comfortable. So I feel like it should stay as is, and I feel like it's necessary. But
Okay.
that's coming from me.
All right. So I'm gonna wait for y'all response if y'all want to respond to that. So I'm gonna ask Mark, what do you think fairness looks like to you?
Fairness to me is pretty simple. Everybody treated the same way, good or bad. Like don't give one more privileges or better outcome than the other one. And like I said, if it's something good, everybody, if they deem that they deserve it, it should be fairness across the board. It should never change. And I'm gonna use this when I was a manager, and my boss told me his saying was, well, he said I don't like nobody. I treat everybody the same. But he pretty much saying that don't choose one and pick the one that you like for favoritism over the other. If this person is doing a good job and this person not, but just because you like the other one more, you're gonna give them better benefits and privileges than the one that you don't like, and they doing the same exact job. To me, that's not fair. So to be fair, you got to be able to treat everybody on the same level, good or bad. Now, that may sound simple and easy, but that's the only way I see it. Is just be fair across the board. Don't treat anybody any different just because. That's just
All right.
personally how I see that. I feel like it should be.
All right. I have to answer this or respond to this. What Trish said. She said, "Yes, I'm fully aware. When the president makes all these executive decisions and Congress is sitting with their heads somewhere they shouldn't be, we can't do anything right now. He tried to educate my family members, or I've tried to educate my family members on what white privilege means and how they can use it. I can't change people, I can only educate them." That's true, 100%. So I commend you on the fact that you're actually saying something. And I respect that because at least you're doing something. Unfortunately, they do have the choice to either listen or don't listen, but at least you are speaking up. You're doing your part. And I applaud you. And like I said, I respect the fact that you are saying something. So this is not for you. This is for more so the ones that don't say anything. Even though they want to say something, they don't say anything. That's what I have issue with. Because again, it won't hurt to try. If the person reject it, then they reject it. But at least at the end of the day, you can feel good and say, you know what? I didn't just stand back and not say anything. I did my part. Now, this is the other response I wanted to say. Now, this is what bothers me is when I hear people say it's nothing we can do. And I've said this many a times, it's more of us than it is of them. And that's the elites and that's politicians. If it gets to a point to where we got to overthrow the government, then that's what got to happen. And that's what I'm saying. I don't For me, it's just I can't fathom the idea that people are sitting back and they're frustrated and they saying, "Well, we can't do nothing." Stuff can be done. Now, the question is, are people willing to take that extra step and say, regardless what happens to me, this is for my children's children, because this is who it's truly going to affect, is our children's children. So we're going to leave them a life of despair and hurt and bigotry and all kind of crap because we're not confident or we're too scared to stand up and do anything. So to me, if it has to get to a point of us coming together and another civil war happening, then so be it, because something has to be done. We can't just sit back and idle and just wish and hope and pray that something's going to change. So not to contradict what I said a minute ago, we have choices. The option is to come together and push back. Or we can recognize what we're dealing with, who we are, we're looking in the mirror and change. Or it's going to have to resort to conflict within this country. There's options. We just have to choose which options we want to do. So the worst option is to sit back and do nothing and hope. That's the worst one, because not doing anything, you're more likely going to get the outcome you don't want because we're just sitting back and not doing anything. All right, so Spring Crunch says, I think it is best to call out the privilege when we see it, to educate people that do not see it. I agree 100%, but this kind of goes back into what we talked about last week with the belief. Now that's the thing. Everybody, we had a podcast about this. Everybody have their own perceptions. So we can't force people to see our perception. You know what I mean? So it's going to really have to take them people looking within themselves and saying, okay, this is who I am. These are the advantages that I have. Let me use it in a positive way opposed to a negative way. But I do agree with you. It do needs to be stated. I will give you that. Trish says, my kids are black. I have to make sure they are educated and know what to expect from every angle. People do view them as half white. They are seen as black and they are aware of why. That's another topic for another day. I don't want to mess with that one right now. But yeah, so let me ask this question and then we'll wrap it up. So yeah, that's just, I already said this, but two people, like I said, can look at things totally differently. So the goal is, are we going to understand and overstand the other person's point of view? And it goes back to what Mark was saying when he was saying like he see from their perspective as well. So us as black people, we got to look at it from their perspective, overstand and understand it. And then they look at it from ours, overstand and understand it. We can't just be at it against each other and be like, well, you're wrong. This is the reason why. At the end of the day, we have to overstand and understand both perceptions, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. You have anything you want to say, Mark?
I don't know. Like I said, I pretty much stand on what I already said. I don't. The only thing I'm gonna close with is I always say this: it's gonna come down to choice. I mean, we all have choices, and I feel like with this particular subject for white privilege, that's definitely going to come down to choice. After like all the comments you made and the way you put it out there, it's not going to be like you said. We can't change their mind because it's going to always be a black against white thing. So for us to, we can educate them, but are they really going to listen? They hear us, but are they going to listen? So I feel like it has to come within. They're going to have to really be around black folks to see the difference, because it's the old saying, walk a mile in my shoes before you judge me, or put your shoe on my foot. And I think white privileged people will never really get it until they have to go through what we went through. Because other than that, they're not going, like you said, understand or overstand. So, and then with narratives, that's why I've harped on the narratives. Because if you don't have no black friends, and the only thing you're going off of is what you see and hear, and that's what a lot of white folks get their privileges, is because they feel like they're supposed to be superior, so they're going to act on that and they're going to wear that on their sleeve. It's because of that. So that's why I feel like the choice is going to be, and you said it, it has to come from them. I mean, I tell a lot of white colleagues and give them the scenario, and they say they get it, but they don't get it, because some things you just don't get it until you in that situation.
Hmm.
So, but that doesn't mean you can't educate them. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's going to be come down to them having to choose to want to change their way, and we'll see how that goes. But I mean, at the end of the day, we all got choices. That's what I'm gonna close with, and see what happens.
All right, all right. So I believe this was a good one. We got some good feedback today. As always, thank y'all for watching and participating. Hopefully, everybody enjoy the rest of their day. Enjoy the next week, and be a positive change, be a positive influence, and continue to ascend to your higher self. And thank you, Spring Crunch. All right, Mark.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah. All right,
All
guys.
right.
Have a good one. Be safe out there.
What's she thinking about?
Huh?
All right. No, she put the thinking
Oh.
emoji up.
Oh, okay. All
All
right.
right.
Y'all have a good
Peace.
weekend. Peace out.